Conversations. It's a series of conversation with business leaders in the area of sustainability. And today we have a very important guest in the area of lifestyle sustainability. Isabel, welcome. Isabel Melgarejo.
Thank you, Naveen. It's really exciting being here with you all, and thank you for the invitation.
Great. It's so fantastic to have you because this particular theme is very important to from household to industry, everyone, and this particular conversation we're going to have, it's very important for us to understand what are our choices going to be. So I think it's going to be a great conversation, and we're going to learn from you about what is our choices in various in industry and also in personal life.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Well, a little bit about my background. My background started as a chemical engineer, and during the recession of 2008, I was in charge of reducing costs in a company. And that came with a lot of challenges. And during that time, sustainability was a thing, but it's not the thing as it is now. And all every single thing that I recommended had an environmental impact, all of them. So that pushed me into getting a sustainability degree. And believe it or not, it was hard to find one that would be multidisciplinary. So I finally got my degree in sustainability, and I worked for more than 10 years as a sustainability consultant. And during that time, I worked with a great variety of industries. I worked with the fashion industry, with the propane industry, in between with healthcare and whatever you can think in there. Like I touched those industry in some way or another. And like what I have to say is that my clients most of the time were really small entrepreneurs and small companies that they just wanted to make part of this movement and help the environment and help people and have an impact. For example, some of them had problems in their processes in the propane industry. They like how the process would work is that someone would call me and say, like, I would like to have a sustainability program in my company. I would go in with my team and we would check what they were doing and track all their emissions and track all their impacts. And once we had like determined which were the biggest environmental and social impacts, we would work a strategy to make it affordable and make it in some way that they would get a benefit, an economical benefit. Because obviously, if you're paying for a consultant, you want a return in your investment, right? So, um, so for example, with the propane industry,
Actually, I would like to come to your go into details maybe further. Probably I would like to, set a context before you go in some examples.
Okay.
And therefore, I'd like to interrupt you here. Uh, I know you are a founder of Tidy Coach, and this is a company which you are right now founder, CEO, and you have been working with many multinational companies. Right now you are looking forward to work with individuals. So this is a very interesting journey from companies and small or medium scale enterprises or large companies, then you are coming to individuals. So the particular topic of consumption and lifestyle, today everything is driven by demand. When you say the world economy, every economy, if you see, you say how much consumption you have is what is deriving the GDP. So in this context, how important is it that we make a right choice in the industry and also in the individual? How do you perceive this? So we want to understand what are the principles of consumption and lifestyle, and what made you take up this, because you see today in the whole climate change and resource, crunch we have is because there is no organized consumption, which is very difficult for, of course, people have choices, you cannot control them. So you have really a great area of working, but at the same time, it's very, very difficult for you to convince in the area of management of decisions and also individual choices. So could you please give some light on principles and what is your take on the consumption in today's context?
Of course. So I changed paths for a little bit, and I say a little bit because I still do what I do, but with individuals. Out of my personal journey, I moved to the US, and all of a sudden, I found myself not feeling at home. It was a really hard process for myself. I moved to Fort Worth. I had no friends, I had no family, I had no job. I like, and I didn't feel at home. So, my mom recommended me to do a tidying marathon at home. So I did it, and during this tidying marathon, you put everything out. Like you start with your clothes, like you start with your personal belongings, and then you finish with the sentimental items. But you basically you swipe up all your home and every single item that you have. And during this process, I was like, I put all my clothes out, and I was like, I have a lot of clothes. I don't need that many clothes. And then I was doing cleaning supplies, and I put all the cleaning supplies out. And I was like, why do I have these really hardcore chemicals that are not good for anybody? They're like not even for cleaning because they're just going to corrode everything. And why do I have all like I had food that I would never cook, and why do I have food that I won't cook, or all these foods that are going bad in no time, or that have been sitting there for a while? So I started discovering things that, even though I was saying and I was recommended hundreds of clients to go sustainable, I was not living at home what I was telling my clients to do with their companies. And I just find that very hypocritical. So I
When
decided
was
to.
it actually that this experience you have gone through the process about the realization? And
It was hard because, according to me, I was like a very environmentally friendly person, and I was not. Like, honestly, there were things that I don't even know how I came up with. Um,
which year
like
it
for
was actually?
sorry,
How many years ago you came up with this?
this was about a year and a half ago that I
Not time.
started.
Not, it was not so long ago. It was just recently.
Yeah, it was like yesterday. It feels like yesterday. And so I was like so shocked about everything. And one of my realizations throughout this process was that I haven't met in my entire career and in my entire life someone who says, oh, I want to pollute, like I'm happy polluting, or I'm happy just chopping all the rainforest. Like, you don't meet those people. Like, they do it out of necessity, and just because what they do, and it's like that's how they make money. And we all need money to live. And this realization just made me conscious about how we regard things. So one of the things that I discovered is that everybody I started joining all these sustainability groups and how to live sustainably and yada yada yada. And one of the things that I discover is that people get overwhelmed when thinking about sustainability because there is So one of the things for me, the first thing that people need to know is what is their goal. They want to reduce wastes, or they want to reduce energy consumption, or they want to reduce the chemicals they're using. This is really important, because then once you know what's your objective, you can focus on that objective. If you're really conscious about your wastes, then all your energy will be towards reducing your wastes, and all your efforts are going to be towards that objective. um so that's the first thing, and you can't do all at once. You can probably make several things and combine several things and like several efforts at the same time, but it's going to be really hard to tackle all of them at once, and it's overwhelming. So that's step number one. Just get an objective in mind and work towards it. The second objective, the second part of it is your non-negotiables. All of us, and I mean all of us, have non-negotiables in life, and for me it's my health. I'm not going to be sacrificing my health for the environment, and there are like some considerations towards it. But as an example, I'm not going to be sacrificing having skin cancer just because I'm not wearing proper sunscreen. So yes, I know, like if I'm going to a beach, then I'll sacrifice like my face for a few days, but then once I'm back in the city, I will use the best sunscreen that I can get. And I know I'm not going to be putting water in my face often enough, so it won't drain into the water. But those are the things that are non-negotiable for me. And all of us, we have non-negotiables. So it's important to know which are the non-negotiables. And the third one is to know what we really have and what we need. Many times, and I see this over and over and over with clients, and even though they don't, even if they're not focusing into reducing their consumption, they realize they have way too much. Um, and every single time, just putting, and for example, I was with a client yesterday, and we were sorting through her clothes, and she asked me, where did you get all these shoes from? Like, I don't have that many shoes. And I was like, yes, you have all of those shoes hidden in the back of your closet. So that made her like, it made her realize that she had more shoes that she needed. Like, she's gonna be wearing 10 pairs of shoes in a single year. She's not gonna be wearing the 60 or 70 pairs of shoes that she had. And she doesn't need to buy more shoes because she already has enough. And that happens over and over with every single person. I think we're not aware of what we own. We just keep purchasing things because buying things makes us feel happy. Like, you go shopping and you get a new something and you feel happy. You feel happy. So that
Yes,
makes
I think there are very, very important points which I think I learned. Would like to highlight, so that we could pick this some of these points. Very, very interesting points what you have mentioned. This is very your journey. I'm sure a lot of people, at least quite a few of them, have gone through your journey, but they may not have, taken up an initiative to work on this. Some of the points, as you mentioned, like selective choices and realizing that you have, in your inventory on your warehouse, that you have enough. That means self-sufficient, and at the same time you became aware of your choices, that what you need and what you need more, and that's what made your decision more responsible, that you would like to get the stuff you want, how much is necessary and how much is not. I think so that the whole journey is very, very interesting for, I think, in today's context, because as you rightly said, nobody would like to, sacrifice their choices, and not most of the things are non-negotiable. But at the same time, the what you need may be non-negotiable, but at the same time, something you would like to shop or desire for, maybe you just like to enjoy shopping, or you'd like to spend your money, or maybe because everybody else would like to, buy something which, whether furniture, clothing, jewelry, or grocery, vegetables, you would like to have a variety of choices maybe. But I think what you're saying is that the realization what you had is making you aware of your choices, is what I think is very, very interesting. And this journey is very, very worthwhile. Everybody can have a, look at it, because in today's context in the planet we have limited resources. And as per reports, United Nations, and also World Resource Institute in Washington, they say that every country wastes about 30% of its, you know, FMCG products, and with that, and then you have shelf life, which again then you dispose the product. So, and then you have vegetable market, supermarkets, and then you have food at home, domestic, so on and so forth. So I think every individual has a role to play, and I want to focus on your you know aspect of working with entrepreneurs to individuals, because at the end of the day, even in entrepreneurs, even in companies, it's individual who make choices, whether it's a CEO or a manager or an inventory manager. So in that context, it would be great if you can talk about, a little bit about a few minutes on your example of how it was to work with a company, and now that you want to work with individuals who may be, CEOs of a company, or maybe a manager, or maybe a celebrity, or an individual housewife. How this transition is, and do you see that this would be more effective? Which one will be more effective to work with?
I think working with companies and individuals has one specific difference, and it's a huge one. A company, companies, the target of a company is to increase the profits. And for a company to achieve that, there is two ways to do it. You either sell more or you reduce your costs. There's no other way. And there are several ways to increase sales or reduce costs, but those are the two things you can do in industry to achieve that. And every single business is looking for that, increase the revenue. That doesn't happen with people. Even though everybody tells you they want to be billionaires or millionaires or very wealthy, that, yes, that's just one part of what they want in life. um and not necessarily, because that is combined with the wish of, or the joy, or whatever you want to call it, of wanting a family, or traveling and experiencing, and for many their spirituality comes into place. um so there are many parts of a human being that also makes them who they are in comparison to a company. So that is like the main difference that I can find, that companies are just all about profit. So when they are all about profit, they're going to pay more attention into where the money is going away. And that doesn't happen with individuals. You have to break, you have to break some patterns and make them make decisions, and help them realize that their decisions are being made with the heart or with their livers and not with their heads. So so it's really easy to run the numbers in a company, but it's not the same for, and because you see a sale and then you go like, I need to buy that. Like, no, you don't need to buy something that's on sale. You just want to buy it because it's on sale and you think someday you might be using it. So
But I
it's very
want to talk about a very important point you mentioned about, the company. Yeah, the good part about you said that, they're focusing on revenues, so they would like to maximize their profit and minimize the wastage, or they would like to have a minimal raw material processing, or, maintain the inventory as in it is required. But on the one hand, you see that, if you talk about any particular sector, for example automotive sector, which is very very efficient, because one of the very highly efficient industry in the world, automotive sector. Literally, everything is recycled and they produce, and then at the same time they only produce, they go for new designs and they change the entire the processing of the factory, and so they you can come out with new models and there's hardly any wastage. But if you take up the FMCG sector, like food and lifestyle products, like cosmetics, or or clothing, for this, because this product, uh, as you say, is derived by people's choices, and it is all available right out there in the supermarket, or on the retail stores, or which like once it is out there from the company, it is not coming back, it's going to the people, or it is just dumped. But in other industries, like chemical, automotive, or jewelry, where, or so many other high value based industries, you see that it is like, you get it what you need, and then it can be transformed into different kind of technology or product. But in FMCG, like, which is again dominating for agriculture, like food around the world, which is consuming a lot of resources, have water, fertilizer, lot of soil, and lot of carbon fixing happening. So I would like to focus more on food, or selection of food, processing of food, and and the availability of food in restaurants, and so many and so forth, and shopping in supermarkets. And this is the most important, and clothing, as of course, because this is something people buy on a regular basis. So how difficult is for you to work with individuals, for them to make these selective choices and be conscious that they are making the right decisions, and that they are ending up their salaries or wealth spending in unproductive way?
so talking about food, like it's really hard because we
Is
all
it
need
something
to.
you take up on a top list for your clients, customers?
Yeah, like one of the very heartbreaking things for my clients is going through their pantries, and like for the most part they find things that they like and enjoy eating, but there are times that where in every single case they find food that they would have enjoyed to have eaten, but it has been sitting there for such a long time that they just can't consume it anymore. Like it's been standing there for 10 plus years, so it's not good. And and one of the things is like just buy exactly what you're going to consume. You don't need to buy tons of cans, and I understand that for many of us, like I've personally gone through like times in which we're out of electricity and water or whatnot because of the environment, like a hurricane or a tornado or anything. Like the weather can disrupt the food income that we have. So I just suggest for them to keep an amount of food that they would feel comfortable with and just keep renewing that food. They don't need to buy and buy and buy, but they should need to keep moving those supplies. So buy things that you enjoy, buy food that you like and that you will be cooking not every single day, but often enough that you can use those cans and then buy some more. That's one of the things that I recommend. Another thing that I recommend is consuming local. Um, for the most part, products are shipped from all around the world, and you can find, uh, I think, the northern in the world, you can find products from farthest away. So try consuming local, because that's just gonna cut a lot in how long it went through the world and how much energy it took for that specific product to get somewhere else. And just try to consume. Another thing is that I recommend is like a very engineering and logistical thing to do, but just everything you buy, put it in the back of your pantry. So you start consuming the older products first. So I think that is a very good practice, just to start consuming the older products first, because then you go through all of them and you just keep putting new food in the back of your pantry, and you will get to it. And for the most part, we purchase this same type of foods over and over. So those are my recommendations in terms of food. And it is really heartbreaking just to see foods that we don't like going to waste, and or whatever. There's another thing that happens often is that people gift us food that we don't like. In those cases, I just recommend to take that food into a food bank, and so someone else will use those or make a good use of it. In terms of clothing, that's harder, because even though we put clothes on every single day, we do not buy clothes every week. Like, we use our clothes for a longer time. So some of my recommendations, and that came right at the beginning when I started doing this professionally, is I went with a client and she had the same shirt 5 times in her closet. So she didn't know she had it 5 times. She just bought it because she liked it. So every time that you purchase something, make sure that you don't have anything similar in your closet. And if you have, it's because you're replacing it. It's already old enough for you to replace it. Um, I know this is harder because this requires for you to pay attention to everything you have. And then you have seasonal items that you forget about, because right now we're not, like, it's fall, so we don't remember our bathing suits or whatnot. So it becomes harder, but that just think about what you have. Try to buy new items or that will substitute them. Another thing that I try recommending my clients is to buy clothes that are timeless. And another thing is to purchase the best quality they can afford. um I know we all love
Actually, would
to.
like to also ask, um, how much of it, the consumption, the urge to consume, and also to, you know, also get lot of purchases and all, and this is how much it will influence your, wealth which you manage, and also your ability to, the mental ability, because at the end of the day it will impact your lifestyle. Because if one keeps spending their time on all the time on consuming, I think there is, we need to one need to have introspect, that when would you actually, you know take the, the execute the, whatever you have, to use that. I mean, what is the applicability of what you're going to buy is something, is very, very question, an important point to question. So do you think, uh, that consumption drives more towards habit rather than a quality choice? And how much is it is impacting the behavior of an individual? Do you think they are happy about it?
Every time we purchase something, we get that happiness feeling of having something new. So that it's important to consider. And one of the things that I usually do for myself is, like, if I'm buying something, I make myself three questions. Do I need it? If I need it, like, hey, I only have one pair of tennis shoes and they just broke, so then yes, I need them. The second question would be, if I don't need them, I go to the second question. Uh, do I want them, or would it be just nice to have? If it's something that it would be nice to have, then you shouldn't be purchasing it for the most part. Because then, yes, it is nice to have a lot, but then you're not going to be using it. So,
That's a nice one.
yeah.
No, that's very, very important because, the world population is, nearly 7 billion, and we don't know what is the exact number. So 7 billion people is a lot. And in one of our interactions I had on the population, we said in the beginning of the century, it was just more than a billion population. In just, 100 years time, we multiplied 7, 8 times. Even to have a child is a choice. So one, so you have multiple children or whatever, but it's a more fundamental choice you have. From having a children to what we will have for our children to ourselves is what redefining the whole planet and the way we live, and what we're going to have at our house and on the streets, at our offices. This is all consumption, if you look at it. And I've read one book actually by somebody called Consumptionomics. It's not anymore economics; it's consumptionomics. So, so I'm saying it's very, very crucial. I'm glad that you're working in this area, because this has not been made into a very, very articulated profession. And if you make people realize that this is something, you know you train people to think on it, like, consuming is something, is an art, it's not a behavior. Then I think people would make very, very relevant choices. Because you get dressed well, and then you have a fashion designer, somebody's making a choice for you. You have go to a doctor, then he decides of medical medicine for you. You want to look good, and then you go to a beautician. You want to be fit, then you go to a physiotherapy. But if you want to consume, whom do you go to? So, so if you talk to your family, then you will end up with then multiple choices. Then it's eventually a query. Maybe you will fight with them what you're going to buy. So I think you are in a very, very important area, and very, very vital work. But it's very interesting that how you convince people to make right choices. So, talk a little bit more about it. Like, what would be your initial conversation with, uh, the people who are, especially who would have, important decisions to make. Let's say if I am a, a very, very important influential fashion designer. Okay, then I'm going to derive people choices, the way they make brand is made, the way the design is being made, the kind of material I choose, whether it is chemical or a natural, or it is eco-friendly. And if it is a textile which is made from natural processes, and then if it costs less, and it can be made more available to people, that they don't have to spend a lot of money. There's so many things which an influential professional can make. So in the same context, how do you interact with an individual, that what is for them, it is very important? How do you start the conversation that they have to make the right choice?
It's really hard because the right choice is different for everybody.
But
But I
selective choice, at least, if not the right choice.
yeah, there's no right choices when it's about people. Like, while some need, one of my clients, she's a retired nurse, and she's married to a banker. And one of her struggles is that she has to be different people like throughout different times of the day. So
Very classical example.
yeah, like she has like, she's a nurse, and she has to entertain people in different ways. So she, like, sometimes she's in a very fancy restaurant, sometimes she's at a baseball game, sometimes she's hanging out with friends. So throughout the day she has to cover, or she's like in an like in a fundraiser for the hospital. So for her, her wardrobe is very extensive because she needs to be different people. Well, not different
That
people,
is
but
a very, that is a very exceptional profession, I can say, because the her work demands the choices. But I'm saying somebody who don't, her profession or his profession doesn't demand so much consumption. But at the same time, I think they were driven by their behavior or the availability of, because today you have so much available choice. You can make choices that you take from, name it, from, from food to clothing to your cosmetics to your handset to laptops to anything, you name it, you have so much of choice. And it is like, and it is bombarded in the marketplace. And it is not even e-commerce now, so it is right there on your mobile phone, not only in the supermarket. So it is right there on your, in your sitting place. You don't have to go out for shopping. So it is so tempting for people to go for consumption in this kind of environment where technology is driving people to, you know they make choices in a behavioral manner. How can they be more aware? Do you think somewhere we have not be, we somewhere we have not realized what is important for us? What do you think?
I think we were not educated into consuming what we really need. And I think from World War II up to today, we have lost that sense of not having enough. Like once World War II was over for, and I'm not saying for the whole world because that would be unfair, but for, and for a good chunk of the world, starting from the 1950s until today, we haven't really experienced until COVID something that would shock us as, like, as people. So I think COVID brought many lessons to us. Like we really didn't need that much for most part, and I heard that over and over. And scarcity, we haven't lived with scarcity for so many years that we should be paying attention to what would really happen if we didn't have access to everything. Um,
I
and
think
I
I've,
think
I think
just the
that's a
way
great
we
point
grew
you
up.
made. Actually, it's a very, very important point. It's a very important takeaway what you made. That one has to realize the scarcity. I think that's a bottom line, and and the times which we live in make us realize. And I think that's the takeaway. I think because the recent years, what we have seen and what your realization, I think that's a very, very important takeaway because otherwise, we will make our choice and nobody can stop it because every human being is free to make choices, right? For, personal to professional. So we have to make our choices in times we live in, and that's what you just know, just implicated from what you said just now, that scarcity and the times which we live in, it make us very, very responsible and relevant choices. And I hope that we make the right choices when we have a lot of freedom and we are not forced to make choices. So I think you play a very important role, that people can make choices when they are have variety of freedom to make choice, than rather than they're forced to. and they can make a selective one so that they can be happy. And
Exactly.
great. And I hope that you have a great role to play, and you will your profession is a very, very important one for the planet and the climate protection. And many CEOs and companies and very, very influential individuals, like marketing, management people, and even for stock market people so, and the people who are in the area of fashion designing and so on and so forth, and celebrities. I'm sure they will be needing your guidance and coaching as how can be influencer. And I'm looking forward to how I will be very, very closely following you and learn from you, and I hope many people will learn from you. And I wish you all the best. And would you like to say anything before we have a say bye, concluding remarks, anything?
Thank you. First of all, thank you so much for this time. I know it's super late for you, but thank you so much for working throughout my schedule. I really appreciate it.
Thank you.
And just for everybody out there listening to or watching this video, just make conscious purchases. You'll save money. I know we don't focus on that, but if you're saving for a trip, then that's a good way to start with.
Thank you, Isabel. Thank you for accepting for interaction in this particular conversation. This is called BiSy Conversations. It's called Business Sustainability Conversations, and this is you are one of the important speaker, and I'm sure you are a lot more relevant to many of the people, because consumption and lifestyle is very much important. So thank you very much, and wish you all the best. And again, look forward to meet you sometime again in the future.
Thank you so much, Naveen. Have a fantastic rest of your day.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye bye.
Bye bye.